In February of 1949, the police raided a warehouse on Leopold Road in West Sussex. This was no ordinary warehouse. It was owned by John Haigh, who I have to bring you a few decades back to start his story. On the 19th of July 1909, Haigh was born. He grew up doing musical theatre as a child in a normal, sane family. This would be the opposite of a man that he is today. As John Haigh grew up, he turned into what people nowadays would call a monster. John Haigh killed his victims and put them in acid baths which contained sulfuric acid which burnt the bodies, disintegrating them. When Haigh was arrested, they found several 40-gallon drums and containers of concentrated sulfuric acid which he killed all of his victims, like said before. Outside, they found 28 pounds of melted human body fat, part of a human foot, human gallstones, and part of a denture. For the detectives that were working on the case, it was clear what that sick man had been doing. It was soon revealed that this wasn't the first time, and it was not the last time that he planned to do this either. At just the age of 25, his gruesome crimes were put to an end as he was arrested for fraud just months after marrying his wife, who left him after she found out about what he had done. She wanted nothing to do with him and left. After 2 years of imprisonment, Haigh decided to take on a job of being a chauffeur. He used the fake name William Adamson and would frequently sell stock from estates of his victims, causing more fraud. After a while of doing this, he spelt his name wrong on a legal document, leading to a client to reveal his fraud to the police, where he was arrested for 4 years. During his time in prison, all he did was plan how he could be better. He was way too deep in for redemption. All Haigh planned was how he could improve from his last failure, and his answer was shocking. He spent the rest of his time learning that if he didn't leave his fraud victims alive, he won't get caught, due to the fact that he spent the rest of his time devising ways to dispose of any witnesses to the crimes that he fully intended to continue. Committing upon his release, he began researching the French murderer George Alexander Sarret, whose signature had been dissolving his victims in sulfuric acid, similar to what Haigh was doing before. Using his free time, he devised his own method of dissolving bodies in various forms of acid by practicing on mice. Haigh found out that it took 30 minutes to disintegrate a small field mouse, and was using this experiment, Haigh calculated how long it would take to dissolve a full-grown man. 4 years later, free from prison and armed with his knowledge, John Haigh took a job at an engineering firm. Soon after, he ran into his old friend William McSwan, whom he had worked for as a chauffeur. McSwan told him about a new venture as a landlord, collecting rent from the tenants that stayed in his parents' multiple properties. However, Haigh was extremely jealous of McSwan's rich lifestyle. Haigh took the opportunity, lured McSwan into his basement and hit him over the head, and then turned McSwan into one of his victims, burning him alive. However, he clearly did not learn from the time in jail, as he continued to rob people for their money and committed fraud. Once McSwan's body was more than 100 pounds of sludge, Haigh poured him down a manhole. He took over McSwan's life, took his money and used it for gambling, addiction that he had picked up eventually, but then he ran out of money and needed to kill another rich couple. His last ever victim was Olive Durand Deacon. Haigh rented a large warehouse to dissolve his last victim. Eventually, the police caught Haigh, and what he was doing later, he confessed to all of his crimes. It was enough to sentence him to death. He pleaded insanity. He also said that the feeling of drinking his victim's blood was what made him crazy. However, there was no evidence of him drinking blood whatsoever.